how did you come up with the name Audio Animals? It's an interesting question, and I like these sorts of ones because it allows me to slightly reminisce on how we kind of, when we were developing the business, and we kind of, you know, we sat there for hours trying to think up names. I mean, like I say, hours. We sat there for quite a while, probably a good 2 months, trying to settle on a name. And a name is important, because it's okay, you can get a name, you can work out a name, and you like that name, then you've got to work the branding out, and you've got to, you know, the branding's important. You know, it's very important to have everything in place. It's not good enough to just have the good name. You've got to have a good name, the good brand, you've got to have all these different things. So coming up with the name, we initially were like, right, we want to get something A, right? So we needed to think of something A. We wanted to go something beginning with A, because when it comes to alphabetical order, puts us at the top. So we always wanted to kind of figure out something that began with A. It's like, you know, you got the car service, AA, and that is because you look through Yellow Pages or whatever the directories, AA. It's the first one in all the list. So we kind of wanted that AA. So we had that in mind. We then, another factor was, for search term and SEO purposes, we wanted what it was that we did in the actual name of the company. So, you know, there's no kind of, you know exactly what the company is. It's audio. We do audio. So we wanted something in the name. We didn't want to do something mastering, because that pigeonholes us into just mastering. So we wanted a name that would blanket everything. So it meant that we could do mixing, it meant that we could do mastering, we could do production, we could do sample packs, we could have a brand. It was a brand we could do anything under. So we didn't want to have like blah blah mastering, because that pigeonholes us into doing one thing, and there's one service that we can provide under that name, and that is mastering. We looked at studio, incorporating the word studio into it, but then that doesn't scream broader brand. It just means it's just one thing, and that is the studio. So you can only really have studio services. Yeah, we wanted something as well that could go on t-shirts, could eventually be a merchandise thing, and people would want to buy into it. Something that said studio wouldn't have really worked. So we also thought about it in the sense that when it comes to, it was kind of that era of like, you had these kind of pop stars, for instance, that had a kind of fan base, and they were called, I don't know, I think off the top of my head, like, I can't think what they're called. Justin Bieber, for instance, I think he has Bleebers, I think he calls their, yeah, but there was a time when they had, these pop stars had, like, their fan base was called a blanket term, you know, whereas we wanted to create a brand that was able to blanket term everybody, so that everybody can almost feel an association with the company and the brand. And the name Audio Animals refers to everybody who's interested in audio. You're a bit of an audio animal, you know. It's like the what was I going to say, yeah, like someone like when Gearspace used to be called Gear Sluts. The reason they called people that was because that was a term. It was like you were into gear, you were a proper gear slut. They changed that because it went a little bit PC, and quite rightfully so. They kind of wanted to move away from the word slut and move into the word space, which I get. But like, yeah, we kind of had this brand that was associated with everybody can be an audio animal, and you are an audio animal. If you're into audio gear like we are, you're an audio animal. So that was the kind of where that came from. So yeah, there was a few things in the ways that why we chose the name. And yeah, we basically knew that we wanted to say audio. So we knew it had to be audio, and we wanted a word that was AA. Now the only issue with it being AA is obviously Alcohol Anonymous. Now if you were to ever look through my phone book on my phone, you would see name and then I put AA at the end. It looks like I have a lot of friends from Alcohol Anonymous, but what it actually is I have AA because they're related to audio animals. So there's a lot of planning and a lot what needs to go into thinking up a good brand and a good name. It's not just like thinking, oh yeah, that name would do, because I will say now, as much as what we do plays a big part on why we've been so successful. At the beginning, the reason we were very successful and we were able to build the business really well was because the name and the brand was so strong. And we were, you know, once we kind of put the name into people's heads, they didn't forget it, because it was a very recognizable name, and the kind of, you know, the logo and the brand, it's kind of, it had weight to it. So it really does work, and it really is worthwhile spending a lot of time working on a good brand and a good kind of a good logo and all these sorts of things. And there's got to be reasoning behind your name. And it's one of the big things for us was that for SEO and search purposes, having the word audio meant that anything you wrote, audio mastering, audio mixing and mastering, it meant that we hit the search terms really high, because our kind of primary domain name had the word audio, and audio was written throughout our website non-stop. The same as mixing, the same as mastering was written throughout our website. So yeah, that's how we kind of come up with the whole Audio Animals name. I mean, we spent a lot of time. We basically, what we did was, we knew we wanted to have audio, and then we knew we wanted a word with A, and then we literally kind of went through a list of all different words that began with A, and kind of went audio, audio, nah, audio, and we shortlisted it, and we went with Audio Animals, and I'm really glad we did, because it really now speaks volumes as a brand and as an actual name, that a lot of people kind of, they recognize it, especially in the audio industry. It's a very recognizable logo and brand. Yeah, so that's how we came up with the Audio Animals kind of brand and name.